Have you ever wanted to get in better shape? You know, look good, feel good, slim down? Maybe you could take up cycling. I did, and now everyone looks at me like I've got two heads before saying, wait, that's mono blue? Yep, mono blue. My name's Savantir, and this is Mono Blue Cycling. Welcome everyone to Spellsling on a Shoestring, the deck tag series for when you're broke but want to play like you're woke. Before I jump into the video, please click like, subscribe and click the bell icon to keep up to date with all the latest and greatest videos from yours truly. It is a fantastic way to support me for free and I really do appreciate it.
So what is Mono Blue Cycling and why should I play it?
Mono Blue Cycling is a sweet and off-the-wall deck that looks to play a pseudo-control game, bouncing creatures and countering spells at instant speed, while relying heavily on the cycling mechanic to dig through your deck and gain incidental value. It's got great late game with inevitability, kind of like if global warming was a Magic the Gathering mechanic. So what's cycling, I hear you ask? Cycling is an ability on some cards where you pay a cost, usually mana, and discard that card in order to draw a card. Some cards also have triggered abilities when you cycle them, like Renewed Faith. We last saw this mechanic back in Amonkhet, and it's great for ensuring your draws are smooth and consistent. That's not all we're looking to do with it though. We want to go on the MTG equivalent to the Tour de France.
But why?
Well, first of all, let's look at our cycling payoffs. We've got 4 Hollow One and 4 Drakehaven. Hollow One looks like a terrible raid, and it is, if you pay retail for it, but we're in the market for a good deal. Because it costs 2 less for every card we cycle or discard that turn, we cycle a couple of cards and then drop some of these down for 1 or even 0 mana. The fact that we churn through our deck so much means that it's not unusual for us to find 2 or 3 of these every game, and any number of 4/4 golems for free is quite nice. Drakehaven is our real value engine. For 3 mana you get an enchantment that essentially lets you pay 1 additional mana per cycle in order to make a 2/2 flyer. As we have 28 cards that cycle in this deck, it's very easy for this to get out of control. Now, let's take a look at the interaction we're running to keep us afloat until we can set up our payoffs. For counters, we've got Censor and Countervailing Winds. Both are technically soft counters, but Winds does scale nicely into the late game, as your graveyard will be growing constantly with all the digging we're doing. And both cycle too, so they're never technically dead cards. For board interaction, we've got 2 Blink of an Eye, 2 Aether Eyes, and 2 River's Rebuke. As we're mono blue, we lack card removal, so the best approach is to either tempo the opponent out by making them spend another turn or 2 recasting everything that they had on board, or do the old bounce and counter trick. I chose this 2/2/2 split because Blink works well early and can replace itself later, Aether Eyes stops us from dying to fast starts, and River's Rebuke is great to completely reset the opponent's board while keeping ours intact. When it comes to card draw, we've got 4 Hieroglyphic Illumination and 2 Treasure Cruise. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, why do we need card draw when we're drawing so many through cycling? Well, it's quite simple really, it's card advantage. Sure, we're drawing more than your typical underpaid, overworked animator, but we're not actually going up in cards when we do so. We lose 1 card and we gain 1. What happens when we use a card to interact? Now you're down 1. So we need ways to restock, and these spells do this beautifully. Hieroglyphic is draw 2, and you can cycle it if you'd prefer to either trigger Drakehaven or see if you can draw it into a counter. Cruise is draw 3, and with the amount of cards we're pitching, it's not unusual to cast this early for just a single mana. We do have some regular creatures in here too, but they're a bit weird and are mostly in here for the cycling. Curator of Mysteries is a 4 mana 4/4 flyer that lets you scry whenever you cycle, which is actually a super strong ability in this deck. Body is decent as a blocker or a threat, and if it's not what you need, you can always cycle it. Now, Striped Riverwinder may seem weird. It's mainly here for the cycling ability, as we need a critical mass of cheap cyclers. There, however, will be some games where you get to 7 mana and your opponent simply cannot deal with a 5/5 hexproof nautical noodle. We've got 1 more non-land card left, and that's Abandoned Sarcophagus. This artifact lets us cast cycling cards from our bin, meaning that we can reuse counters, card draw spells, even recast creatures. This gives us insane late game, essentially turning our yard into a second hand and absolutely burying the opponent in that sweet card advantage. The mana base is very simple, 18 Island and 4 Desert of the Mindful just to squeeze another few cyclers in. Our sideboard is as follows: 2 Ceremonious Rejection to counter artifacts, Eldrazi and problem cards like Witch's Oven or Walking Ballista, 2 Aether Gust to tackle green or red based decks, 2 Displacement Wave as a catch-all bounce spell that can also wipe out tokens, 1 Negate as a hard counter for non-creature spells, 2 Ratchet Bomb for taking out permanents, 2 Sorcerer's Spyglass to help shut down walkers and vehicles, 2 Mystical Dispute to help stop Narset or Teferi and to efficiently fight counter wars, and 2 Engulf the Shore for more aggressive matches where you need room to breathe. Now you too can be the Lance Armstrong of Magic, cycling so much that people will think you're on performance enhancing drugs. This entire deck costs a measly $30. You need to spend at least double that to get a second-hand bicycle, and that won't even give you as much cycling as this deck does. If you are thinking of buying this deck, I have got a link with all the cards ready to go on TCG Player just for you down in the description, so head there and get cycling. I also get a little kickback when you buy through these deck links, so it does help me out too. As for upgrades, there isn't a whole lot you can actually do with this in this state to upgrade it further, except maybe swapping some bend spells for Cyclonic Rifts. There is a blue-white version of this deck, but that's another deck for another video. Mono Blue Cycling is like one of those weird meme decks. It looks like a joke, but it's got surprising game against a lot of the field. It deals well enough against mid-range and control due to its counters and ability to dig for the right answer, but it can be weak to very aggressive decks. Discard heavy strategies can be problematic too. As you want to be discarding on your own terms, these decks are capable of kind of throwing you off course. The main card you want to watch out for though is Narset, Parter of Veils, as she will jam a stick into the spokes of your bike. Countering or otherwise removing her is top priority. I've got some tips and interesting plays to help you get started with the deck. As you can cycle at instant speed, that essentially allows you to flash in the 2/2 flyers from Drakehaven. You can cycle before blockers to blow opponents out, or just cycle on end step to make some creatures that you can immediately untap and attack with. As you can cast Hollow One from your graveyard with an Abandoned Sarcophagus out, its mana reduction clause still applies, meaning that you can cycle more cards to reduce its cost, while putting even more recastable cards in the graveyard. Try to avoid casting Abandoned Sarcophagus too early however. If you cast a spell with cycling while the coffin's out, if it dies or should go to the yard, it'll exile instead. If you wait on the sarcophagus, you can cast your spells now and then recast them later once it's down. Discarding triggers your payoffs too, so if you get Thought Seized with a Drakehaven out, you can pay the 1 and make a Drake anyway. And this applies to any method of discard. For example, if you were to target a Reality Smasher. Did you enjoy this video? How would you build this deck? What other dumb, fun decks and topics would you like to see me cover? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this and would like to support me, there are several ways that you can do so. You can follow me on Twitter and Twitch, you can join me on my Patreon, or you can get me a coffee. All links are in the description box below. I'm also happy to say that I've partnered with Inked Gaming to give you lovely folks a 10% discount in their store. From custom and store art playmats, dice bags, PC gaming mousepads, and loads more. Be sure to click on the link in the description box below and use the offer code SAVANTIER for 10% off. By doing this, you're also supporting me, which I think is really nice of you. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, take it easy and keep on janking.